down the lens interviews are simply when the person being interviewed is looking straight into the camera. Unless you're a professional TV presenter or even a self-obsessed vlogger, they're not as easy to do as you'd think. It's difficult to sound natural while staring at a blank lens. I'm not actually sure who started this shooting style, but the first famous use was for a documentary called The Fog of War by Errol Morris. In order to make people feel natural, he basically used two teleprompters, or what we in the UK still call autocues. And instead of words in front of the lens, he projected his own face from a small camera. Then the second teleprompter was used just so he could see the interviewee. They called this setup the Interrotron. I first noticed this style of interview about 10 years ago on a great series all about the US TV industry. It was called America in Prime Time by Lloyd Kramer. The interviews on this series looked great, and the whole feel was like the guests were naturally talking to you. I loved the look, but they didn't use the Interrotron. Someone realized you don't need two teleprompters. You could just use a mirror. It's one of those really obvious ideas that's only obvious when someone else has thought of it. The new box with a mirror was called iDirect, and it started a whole craze for the down the lens style. Yes, I've done quite a few shows with the iDirect. It's especially useful if you're filming children, so they have a face to talk to. So BBC Kids shows, and I've also used it on quite a few documentaries. And I hate it. Ta-da! Okay, I'm not being very fair here. I don't hate the iDirect. I hate the time it takes to set it up, and the fact that it needs tools. I hate the fact that it mounts underneath your base plate, so it's not easy to balance off your tripod until it's all set up. And then once it's all built, it's not the easiest thing to balance at all. I really dislike the fact that it feels a bit plastic, a bit flimsy. It wobbles when you move the camera. So imagine my excitement when I got the opportunity to borrow the prototype of an alternative, designed by a working cameraman from Yorkshire. And I must say, the prototype worked brilliantly. I knew he was onto something, and I've been nagging him ever since to buy one myself. And a year later, here it is, the VoxBox Pro. And I must say, it does look very pro in its neat flight case. As soon as you start to rig this, you can see that it's a quality piece of kit. No flimsy plastic here, solid metal box. And it simply slides onto your 15mm bars instead of the matte box. You get some foam donut rings as well, just to keep the light out. The only other thing to do is slide the glass into place. It's easy to think that this is ordinary glass, but actually it's known as a beam splitter, and it's much more complicated and expensive than you'd think. One side of it has to work like a mirror, while the other side needs a non-reflective coating so it doesn't reflect everything back into the lens. So you need to get it the right way around. But all we need to do is slide that into place, lock it down, and that's it. If you just want an interviewer to sit to one side of the camera and see the guest, you're rigged. And what did that take? 1 minute? However, you also get a mirror. And it doesn't just flip everybody the right way round again. It also means you can sit at a more comfortable position, or even behind the camera, if you're one of those shooting PDs who are trying to up their game. Actually, if you are a self-shooting PD, you might be wondering what you can do if you don't have these 15mm bars, or maybe you're shooting on a DSLR camera. Well, the VoxBox comes with this spigot, which allows you to mount the whole thing on a lighting stand. And actually, there's a lot of times when, if the camera isn't moving around during interviews, this might be the quickest way to rig with any camera. you can simply move the whole thing between interviews. And that's it. You can have a normal conversation with me, but actually you're looking right down the lens of my camera. One good tip I've learnt along the way is if you've got enough time, throw up a drape or a screen in front of the person asking the questions, and it stops the conversation going around the camera, around the VoxBox. And if you're going to do that, put up a soft light on your interviewer's face, and it just makes things a little bit brighter for your guests. I often use a camera top light sideways. Another trick with the VoxBox, it includes a bracket that'll hold a tablet on the side, and this can turn it into a very cost-effective teleprompt. Again, because everything is built so well, it's easy to rig my iPad so the text displayed is clear and square to the frame of the box. It's a little thing, but it all helps with displaying to your clients what is a well-presented professional bit of kit. On a side note, I've discovered Promptsmart Pro for my iPad. It's £20 software, so the scripts will display properly in the mirror. But the best thing is, it's voice activated. So if you feed the headphone socket from your camera into the iPad, the scripts will follow your voice. Genius! And I found it works much better than I expected. Although you will need to buy an iPad that still has a headphone jack before they disappear altogether. Have you noticed how many national news organisations now think it's acceptable to involve regular contributors over Skype? I think it looks awful. They're usually looking down at their laptops, which means you're either looking up their nose or you're wondering who painted the ceiling. Maybe, if you're a regular news contributor, a politician or a captain of industry, you could put a webcam at the back of the VoxBox and a monitor on the side, and you could look great while Skyping all day. Finally, I know there's vloggers and YouTubers out there who are still searching for the perfect camera. It'll never happen, by the way. But the VoxBox might be able to help you with the search for the perfect monitor, or even solve that flippy screen problem. You see, swap out the iPad for a monitor, and you could be talking directly to all of your subscribers while simultaneously looking at yourself, which I know is what you really want to do. You see, I'm sitting here all on my own, and you probably think I'm looking at you, but actually I'm looking at me. Why would I want to look at you? Thank you for watching.